Hello lovely people, in this video we will be looking at a Recoil DI1200.4 D-Class amplifier. This amplifier was sent to me by Frank from Hapa King, so again, Frank, thank you very much for that. So he bought this amplifier for himself. The brand Recoil, we did a DSP in this channel, if you want you can check it out, but the brand Recoil is kind of known for being very budget friendly for a lot of power. Now, if you look on YouTube or everywhere else, you're gonna find some dynos of this amplifier that stays like the maximum power, whatever. Again, in this channel, we're not worried about the dynos, we're not worried about the maximum power. All we want to know is how clean this amplifier is and is it worth that money. So I did open it up already, but yeah. And I took the bottom out just to have a look inside. It comes quite well packaged. It has a manual and it has these included and some screws. So screws to mount the amplifier. And these is for the connections because this amplifier takes 4 terminals everywhere in the speakers and in the power. Now this, if you see, it's 250, I don't know if you're able to see, it's 250 amp fuses. So the fusing is 100 amps for an amplifier of this size. So this was the most probably surprising part for me, because this amplifier, it's tiny. It's like, look how big it is. And it's supposed to do quite a lot of power. So if we'll have a look at the manual here, it states that it does into 4 ohms, 4 times 200 watts, into 2 ohms, 4 times 300 watts, and bridged 2 times 600 watts. Now, is it gonna do these powers? On amp dynos, people do measure these powers, and sometimes more, but again, the main thing is how clean it is and how it's going to work on slightly lower voltage, because again, this is 14.4 like all the ratings on most amplifiers, but I'm testing my amplifiers at 13.2 because I have just a lithium battery, so it is what it is. So it's going to be less power, but so we will be measuring the distortion of this amplifier. Before we do that, I want to point out something. It is tiny. Yeah, as I said, it's very, very tiny. The internals, it's not much inside, and this is the surprising part. Like, only one toroidal transformer, just a few caps. I would assume these are like the FETs, and this is the power supply stuff, and it's not much. Is this gonna be a budget gem? We will see. So in regards to these ones, since it's pulling 100 amps maximum, these have to be quite thick wires. So at least an 8 gauge, maybe you can do a 10 gauge. So what I did, it has those forks included. So this is an 8 gauge wire, and I just put that fork on top and it goes very, very nice. So yeah, I would prefer to see like screw-in terminals, like on normal amplifiers, but it looks clean. It's not that bad, but yeah, I had to redo my wiring just to accommodate those fork terminals. In all other regards, it's just a normal amplifier. It has all the regular stuff, so it takes high level with a switch, so probably just goes through the switch and through some resistors just to knock down the signal. I didn't check the manual how much it takes, but yeah, gain, high pass, low pass, crossover, whichever you want to use. Simple normal amplifier, 4 channel, but the form factor is really, really small. Like my Alpine, it's much bigger and much heavier. So now the main question is how clean it is. Is it clean at all? Can we expect rubbish like 10% THD all over the bandwidth? Or does it measure very good? So yeah, without any further ado, let's jump into the laptop and let's see the actual measurements for this amplifier. So let's have a look and see how clean is this amplifier. First measurement, 4 ohms load and distortion versus level. And we can see actually it performs very, very good. So I did all the previous stuff in dBr, but now I decided I'm gonna have a look at everything at percentage, because it's easier for me to see, it's easier for me to understand, and I think it's easier for most people as well. So we will be looking at distortion percentage-wise and not dBr. So what we can see here is the distortion is lowest somewhere here, which is 0.03%, which is a very, very good number. Like below 0.1 is considered to be everything very good. And it's cleanest between like 1 watt and 10 watts. Now, in this range of power, you would say it would be good for mids and tweeds. However, it has a lot of second harmonics. So the second harmonic, you can see, it dominates the THD. Everything is harmonic and THD as well. So THD and the second harmonic, versus in other amplifiers this would be mainly noise. And if you're going to have a look at the power, again, as I mentioned, I'm measuring my amplifier with 13.2 volts, so it's not going to do what it's supposed to do on the box, what it's written on the box, or a bit less. So the cleanest, it's like 120 watts, which is very good and respectable from this size amplifier. Up to 1% THD, we have about 146, 145 watts. And then I'm reaching 200, which is stated on the book, in the manual and on the box, at 10% THD. Now, 1%, 145, it's amazing. If you have a look at this is my Alpine A70F. It is one of the best amplifiers that I have. You can see that the THD is, for this amplifier, is lower, and it's a higher power range, so it's between 10 and 20 watts, and it goes all the way down to 0.016. So yeah, there is a difference between these, but it's not as big as I would expect. And like this amplifier does at 1%, 117, 140. So this does much more power and with slightly higher THD. Now, if we have a look at same 4 ohms THD versus frequency, we can see that we have more distortion at the lower end, whereas like the Alpine, for example, which is this one, is totally flat. From 0.2, like all the way totally flat. And from this, you can see like the harmonics are way below everything, and this is dominated by noise. Even the second and third harmonics are all the way down, and this is basically noise. For the recoil, however, it's a very different story. You have second harmonic, which is higher than the noise. The noise is, see here, at 0.02, the noise, and the actual second harmonic is 0.03. So second harmonic is much higher, and the third one, which is interesting, is like this. So if I very quickly remove all of these, you can see the third harmonic, it kind of pops up at the lower frequencies and at the higher as well. And this, like this region between 3 and like 6K, whatever, is the most sensitive for human hearing. And the third harmonic that might pop up, it's not going to sound very nice. The other thing is like 5th, 7th. 7th is lower than 9th, I think. Yeah, so all the harmonics pop up more than even. So this is 2, 4, 6, lower. So the second and third, yeah, it is, I don't want to say concerning, but it's just like, probably it's like typical class D. And this is the thing. This region, where it's most sensitive to human hearing, it's populated by harmonics and stuff. Only from this graph, like from the power graph, you could say you can use it for mids and tweeds, because it's like the cleanest in this power range. But from the frequency, you can see that it's dominated by harmonics at the higher frequencies. So for mids and tweeds, to use this amplifier would be a very bad decision. Now, me and Frank kind of talked about this, and he wanted to use it for dedicated mid bass. And for mid bass, it's kind of perfect, because like mid bass, let's say like 20 watts, it's still 0.05. It's very little distortion, even up to like 40, 50 watts.
0.07, you're not gonna hear that distortion in the mid bass. And in the mid bass region, which is like here between like what 60 and 200, it's the almost the cleanest. Like because of the third harmonic, I mean, the third harmonic rises up here, but it's not there. So it is second harmonic dominated, so probably warm, as people might say, amplifier. But for mid bass, it would be perfect, especially with that power. But there's something more interesting. If we have a look at the 2 ohms, so this is 4 ohms, and we get here. If we drop down the load to 2 ohms, yeah, this one, we have a little bit more distortion. You can see it rises a tiny bit, and we have more power. So power-wise, now we have 160 almost watts very clean, up to 1%. This is again at 13 volts, up to 182 watts, up to 1% at 2 ohms, which is wow. And at 10%, well, 10% is pure distortion, but like 250, but like 150 watts into 2 ohms. So you have like 2 ohm speakers. That's a lot of headroom, and it's kind of cleanish. Even at this power is 0.18, so it's not the cleanest, but cleanish. The frequency is the same as 4 ohms, kinda, just this pops up even more compared. So slightly higher distortion, and it pops up even more. So nah, for mids and tweets, not really. For mid bass in this region would be very, very nice. But the most interesting thing that happens is if you bridge this amplifier. So again, let's go down here, 0.03. If you bridge this amplifier, you have this. And it's so surprising to me because I didn't test any amplifiers bridged yet. I need to test my Alpine bridged, because look what happens. From all of the 0.03, it goes down all the way up to down to 0.015 in the range between 10 and 60 watts. And this is Alpine numbers. 0.016, 0.015, between 10 and 50, 10 and 60. This is a bit lower, between 10 and 30. So for a higher power, like 40, 50 to 30 watts, this unbridged is cleaner than the Alpine. And I was looking at this as like, what the hell is going on? How is this possible? This amplifier costs $150, and in bridged mode, it's cleaner than the Alpine. So again, if you use it for mid bass, again, this is THD versus frequency in bridged mode. So again, we see the same stuff happening here in the higher frequencies and in the lower, but for mid-range, mid-bass, between 60 and 300, it's perfect. It's so cool. So this was the most interesting part for me, because there's loads of power. Okay, let's have a look at the power. The cleanest, like let's say up till here, 300 watts, 0.17, 300 watts per channel. So now it's a two channel amplifier. So it's like 1%, 367. So you have basically 360 watts times 2 up to 1%, which is ridiculous for the size and the price of this amplifier. Just get multiple of them. Like, so this again was perfect as a dedicated mid-bass amplifier where you need a lot of power. $150, bridge it for 2 channels, and you can run like focal 2Ks, whatever, where they need a lot of power. It's like 200, 300 watts of clean power. Relatively clean here, but like especially in this area, it's super clean. Even if it is dominated by like harmonics and stuff, they're very low. Like the second harmonic, see, it's below 0.01, so it's not audible, but it's amazing. Very quickly, let's have a look at the 1 kilohertz tones. This is 4 ohm, so we see the noise floor is slightly higher than other amplifiers, especially, for example, the Alpine. Yeah, so this is the Alpine. You can see like totally flat floor noise, 113, just a few harmonics, and we have 73.9 dBs. And this one rises at the bottom end, so more noise here, more harmonics here as well. But since it does like 69.6, which is like what, 3-4 dB less, which is still very, very good. And again, you see this second harmonic that dominates it. If we switch from 4 ohm load into 2 ohm load, we have this. So this will give, you can see more harmonics, higher harmonics. Second, third, all the harmonics higher. The noise floor kind of stays the same, but more harmonics. And we're losing from 69.6, 65.7, which is a bit lower. And then if we bridge it, it goes back up and is basically the best THD plus noise for this amplifier because the second harmonic is reduced quite considerably, and this is the biggest influence. So you can see all the rest are kind of the same, but the second harmonic is reduced dramatically. And for this one, we have slightly higher floor noise, which goes here. And we have 71.9, which is amazing compared to the Alpine that had 73.9. And this is 70, so 2 dB less than the Alpine. Now, it looks different, but again, these harmonics, they don't influence like the total THD plus noise a lot, because the main thing that influences is the second harmonic, which is here, and it's reduced when you bridge it. So yeah, I have the multitone as well, like in 4 ohms, then in 2 ohms, kind of the same, loads of noise and higher frequencies, especially like between 1 and 6K. Here, loads and loads of noise, but the rest looks fine. The bridged is the cleanest. On multitone, you can see the big, massive difference. And all of these were measured at 5 watts of power. So yeah, this amplifier on bridge mode is a beast, especially for the price. Very quickly, have a look at the frequency response. Yeah, this is a massive peak that I noticed as well. So this, I would assume, probably like a switching frequency or something at 41 kilohertz. It doesn't trickle down, but it is there. Then we losing 1 dB, a bit more than 1.1 dB up to 20K. And we're losing 2 dB down to 20. But in general, from all of this, like half a dB, so it has a bit of a roll off, so it has some kind of subsonic or something, but in general it's very, very flat.
So just to summarize this amplifier, should you buy this? Definite yes. However, don't buy this amplifier for your mids and tweets. Buy this amplifier for your mid bass and bridge it. Use only 2 channels. Then you're gonna have the best possible performance of this amplifier with the lowest distortion and the most power. So I would call this a mid-bass amplifier, dedicated mid-bass. It's not for subwoofers because you see the distortion at the lower end increases as well. You're not gonna hear it, but still, you can run a subwoofer out of it because you have 360 watts times 2. If it's like a 2-4 ohm subwoofer, you can run it. It's not a problem at all. But I would say it's a very nice mid-bass amplifier for the price, for the size that it is. I don't know how they achieved this with so little components. Like my Alpine is, I don't know, bigger, heavier, and much more, probably like 5-6 times more expensive. And this does kind of the same THD. Now, I'm not going to go into details of how it sounds. Oh, does it sound this? Does it sound that? I'm not going to go into this. I'm just showing you how it measures and how it compares to the other amplifiers. Now, the main thing that I'm thinking now about the low price is the reliability and any kind of warranty. Recoil, we know it has distributors in the Europe and in America, so probably like warranty might not be an issue, but reliability, I don't know. Everything is kind of seated nice. Nothing wiggles. Everything is fine. But is it gonna last long? I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. I might try it. I might use it. I don't know. But for the price, definitely, definitely a good buy. And again, I cannot stress this enough for mid bass where you need a lot of power. Don't use it for the tweeters because on the higher end it's not as nice. But for dedicated mid bass, for a lot of power, definitely, definitely a good buy. So thank you very much for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one.